What's up, guys? My name's Ed Hanna. I'm the team chaplain for the IronPigs. Welcome live to Coca-Cola Park on Facebook Live. I'm here with Austin Davis, Shane Robinson, and Cole Irvin. And what we're doing is a testimonial, part of Faith Night. And obviously Faith Night got rained out and delayed an hour and a half, so we thought it'd be best to do it a couple days later and bring these guys in and just ask them questions about their faith and how it plays into their role as ball players here. So I get excited. I love it because it's an opportunity. Every night they are spotlighted for their talents and their gifts, which is incredible. But I love that we get to spotlight who they are rather than necessarily what they do, and who they are, men of faith and fathers and husbands and sons. And I think it's important that we get to spotlight some of that today. So it's exciting. I guess we'll start off by just asking, at what point, when did faith become an important part of your lives? I imagine each one might be a different story, but maybe just take a couple minutes, each one of you guys, and just share, when did that really become an important part of your life?
How's it going? I'm Austin Davis, pitcher. For me, faith became an important part of my life when I was in college. I was just living life, doing my thing, and then went through some stuff in college, went through some times where just life didn't go the way it was supposed to go. And I just got to a point where I thought, like, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. This world isn't the way it's supposed to be. Some, not tragic things happened, but just some things happened, things in my life, things with my baseball career. And I needed to look to something. And that was kind of the start of my journey to faith and to following Jesus. And, for me, I think just there's a way this world was supposed to be, and it was created to be a certain way, and it's not that way. And I think for me, my job as a man of faith is to try and create the world like heaven as much as I can, whether that's to be a positive influence on someone or just pick someone up or help someone out. And so for me, that's kind of how I try and live it out as a baseball player.
How you guys doing? Shane Robinson. I think the first taste of religion for me was in high school. I went to an all-guys Catholic high school, and definitely had something knocking on me, really tugging on me throughout my high school career and up through college. I met my wife my last year in college, and she grew up in a Christian household, and so being around her and being around her family showed me there was something different. I grew up in a divorced family, and so my life was kind of hectic, going back and forth week to week until I got to high school, until I ultimately decided to stay with one for full time. And so I kind of made the decision that I wanted something different for my life, and I saw it in her family's life. To push off from that, I got drafted by the Cardinals, who has a huge following in the faith. And so being around those guys, there's just something different about them. And the more and more I searched and tried to pinpoint it, I truly understood what it was, and that they walked by faith. They believed that Jesus died on the cross for our sins. And it was a process for me, I always felt like I was in control of my life, through my upbringing, even in sports. I was never the biggest guy, usually the smallest guy on the team, and I felt like I had to, be better than everybody every time I touched the field, and that was a big thing for me, was putting all the hard work, doing it myself. And I really realized that I had to let go, let him be in control. And that's kind of how my upbringing in the faith came about.
Hey guys, I'm Cole Irvin. My faith had been kind of questioned in going into high school, and I went to an all-boys Catholic high school, and I went through some family trials, and it really moved me, and I had a particular moment my freshman year where my freshman Bible teacher basically asked us, how Jesus lives in our life, and something that has always stuck with me is she mentioned Jesus being your heart, but your heart is like a donut, and you're trying to fill the donut up with jelly, and the jelly is Jesus. And so that's something that's always kind of stuck with me. And but going through trials my freshman year with my family and all that, I kind of still was searching, and it wasn't until I got to Oregon that my faith was really tested. And I actually, my good friend Clayton Crum, he got me into an email chain with the Cardinals organization of all teams, and it was with guys of faith with the Cardinals, and I got to ask some questions to some guys I like to watch pitch, and from there, from basically my freshman year at Oregon until today, I've been living with a jelly-filled heart filled with Jesus.
That is good. It's interesting how God used just background and trials in each one of our lives, family lives, things like that kind of helped us see who he was and who he is in our lives. So it's cool to hear. How has being a professional baseball player helped or also hindered just the growth in your faith? So how it's helped, and maybe how it's just been challenging as well.
Yeah, I think when you're in any competition environment, things are kind of extreme, right? Like if you win, everything's great, and if you lose, everything's really not. And so I think going through that can, like, if you win a lot, bring out pride, bring out entitlement, bring out things, and especially being a professional athlete playing in the big leagues and stuff, I think that's the way that people treat you, is with this sense of like, I don't know, you deserve better or you deserve different, and that's not the way I view the world. And so there's a temptation there to kind of live into that. But at the same time, I think being an athlete, you do go through those highs and lows, and everything is a little more extreme, and you don't know, where you're going to be the next week or the next month. And so you just have to take life with an open hand. And I think that helps you realize that, like Shane said, you're not in control of everything. And I can make a perfect pitch and give up a homer, and I can make a bad pitch and get a ground out. And so I think playing a professional sport really helps you learn that you're not in control of everything, and none of us are really in control of anything. And so to just take every day that the Lord has made and do what you can with it, and make it the best you can.
First off, this game is, one of the most challenging games that I've ever played, and I've played everything growing up, and I think it's almost a life lesson, and it's constant tug of war from both ends of the rope. Like he was saying, when things are going well, you feel good, you're on cloud nine, and you're not really looking for help from other outside sources, whether it be, friends, family, or God. But when things go bad, that's really the test. Whether or not you can put things into perspective for you, what's really important in life. And I think it's a constant battle in this game is understanding what the real importance is, what my job here is every day. Is it to go out here and get 2-3 hits a game, or is it to live, a Christ-like life in front of these guys in the clubhouse, or these fans out here watching me? Constantly, you have to put yourself in check when things kind of get to one side of that rope too much. And I think it's a balancing act, something that we can never perfect. And I think it's like that with everyday life. There's a lot of time for a lot of downtime here, so a lot of time to really think about what's important to you, what you really want your direction to be, and really pursuing that. I think that's the tough thing is with all the temptations and things in this world and around us as baseball players, being able to, stay level-headed and still have the drive to come out here, compete every day, and then go home and be a good, father or husband. It's a constant challenge, a constant battle, and I think that's how we all live. I mean, I don't think we're any different from anyone at home, listening to this. So I think, we get put on a pedestal too often, and I think if you really boil it down, we're the same as any one of you guys out there.
Well, you guys nailed it. I will say that as a ball player, you're treated a little differently, and we've been very lucky to play a game that puts us in a position to glorify God and glorify all His teachings. And something that has always, especially this year, has always been with me was the fact that even when we're out there and we may be struggling, we may have success, we're not alone, whether that be with our teammates or be with Christ. And I feel like a lot of times this year I'm asking for forgiveness more so than I'm saying thank you. But there's a lot of good moments. There's a lot of down moments, and Christ allows us to stay balanced in the game and allows us to be able to come to the field every day happy and ready to take on a new challenge. And I know that's something that we're always praying for is new challenges and ways to spread His word. And but yeah, it also applies in our personal lives as well. And I think that's just these guys have already spoke on that, but it applies to our personal lives, and we're all one house under God for sure.
One thing I've learned, kind of being in and around minor league baseball and just professional baseball, the schedule is relentless. You guys are playing all the time. There are not a lot of days off. What is that like for you, not being able to be regularly kind of involved in a church? What is that like as a ball player? Like maybe involvement in a church during the season and outside the season, and just what's it like as a we all need community, right? Like, how do you fill that void if you're not able to get to church on Sunday?
Yeah, I think there's a natural rhythm to the week, which is 6 days of work and 1 day of rest, and that's not the life we live. We have a really busy 5, 6, 7 months, and then a lot more relaxed 4 months there in the off season. So making that adjustment's a little bit tough, but also I think most of us are all routine based. So once you get into the routine of something, you can adapt to it. And now we've been playing for so long, I think we're used to it. For me, when I'm back home, I really enjoy having a Sabbath day and a day to go to church and that kind of normal routine of the week. It's really refreshing. So during the season, what I do is every Friday morning I talk to two buddies back home, Buddy and Richard, and I just it's 11:15 every Friday, no matter what. Sometimes scheduling things happen, but we just talk for 45 minutes for an hour, refresh, stay in community, kind of catch up, and then that kind of gives me a natural rhythm to the week where I feel like I'm connected back home and I'm refreshed to come out and be able to pitch and do everything I need to do here and stay consistent.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously difficult with our long season, spring training, the season, playoffs, if we're lucky enough. And so I really enjoy my off seasons because the church that we attend is amazing. Music's great. We listen to Andy Stanley every Sunday, so it's awesome. And but keeping that alive and fresh in the year is tough. I'm in a couple of text change with guys from other teams, mainly Cardinal guys or guys that I've met throughout the years. And so, just little tidbits there. There's a read through the Bible in a year group that I'm a part of, which I'm not reading through the Bible in a year. I've really stumbled a lot on that. So, but occasionally I chime in on things, and the guys who are a little bit better at that than I am and more consistent will write things in usually every other day or so. And so, just keeping up with those guys and fellowshipping with them, and whatever we can get in on Sunday day games here with chaplains either at home or on the road, and just with my wife occasionally, like, we'll talk about things that she's read through or I've read through, and just kind of getting through the year, pushing through, and then really getting back into it once the season ends.
I think routine's a big part of it for me, and something that's routine is my girlfriend and I, every night we pray, we read scripture, and that's something that's easy to do and always brings us to the Lord at the end of each day. And something we try to apply every day is maybe a little devotional here and there, and I need to do a better job of that. But I think just having our routines, and yeah, we got Sundays where we will have a chaplain wherever we play, but having our routines down. I know our spouses and our families, we all have routines, and off season we most definitely have church routines, but it's something that we're just used to doing, and I think that's just what we do during the season. We try to mix it in when we can, and sometimes that's not every day, but we try to be.
I know for me, early in my faith, there was like significant experiences, whether it was like a book I read, sermon I heard, that just like had a huge impact on me, and that I still remember this day. Is there things experiences, books that maybe have had a significant impact on you guys, just in your faith journey and men of God?
I don't think for me there's been like one specific moment where it's like, boom, you're in. I think for me it was over the course of a couple months, a year maybe, really it's been probably a process since the journey began, but starting to realize that, I didn't have it all figured out. And I think when you're in college and everything's going good and you're playing well and life's good, you're like, I don't need God. I don't need that doesn't make any sense to me at all. And then when you start to realize that life's tough, life has challenges and trials, and then it's not always how it's supposed to be. I keep coming back to that. Then you start to realize that, you need an advocate in your corner. You need someone to lead you. You need the Spirit in your life to point you in the right direction. What's the right next step? What's the right way to go about this life? And so for me, it was kind of just a growing journey to trust that. And it was always kind of there. You can feel it. You're living life a certain way, and you're like, this doesn't really feel right after I do it. Maybe it feels good in the moment, but at the end of the day, when you're lying in bed, there's something better than this. And so it's always kind of there, but it's just growing more and more and trusting that. And I think that was kind of the big difference for me. And then I did some counseling, and I think that was really helpful, just to talk to someone else and have them kind of put words to what you're kind of thinking and feeling, because obviously, we're all going through the same thing. Feels like you're not sometimes, but I think we're all going through the same thing, and everyone's kind of scared to talk about it. So it's nice to talk to someone about it and then realize, the stuff I'm going through is the same stuff you're going through, the same stuff we're all going through. And so the more we can talk about it and work through it, the better we'll all kind of be.
For me, I feel terrible for people who have to go through trials with anything, and my wife and I had that for my 4-year-old's first 3 years of life. And so she was in and out of hospitals for basically the first 3 years of her life. She's had many surgeries. We've almost lost her on 2 separate occasions. So during those times, I had the hardest time not keeping my faith, but trying to understand what the purpose was for it. During that time, I questioned everything always. Looking back on it, it was probably the realest relationship that I had with God through my whole walk. And it's helped my faith in my marriage tremendously. And unfortunately, we had to go through that for that period of time. Would I have changed it? I don't know. Looking back, I mean, I feel like my wife and I can pretty much get through anything now. My 4-year-old daughter is probably the strongest little girl in the world. Shows no signs of being behind, or she's just a normal little girl now. But through that time, looking back, I realized, like, this is, like I said, the realest relationship I've had with him, because I was honest and upfront, and I was hurting, and I was able to talk to him on a daily basis. And my anger caused me to grow closer to him and be more real with him. And when we got through everything and she was cleared, I mean, the peace that came over me and my wife at that time, we knew it was meant to be, and we knew that he healed her at the right time when it needed to be done. And it's hard to really explain it all, because it was a 3-year nightmare. But looking back, it was a huge blessing to our family, and it's hard to kind of say that, but it really strengthened us. And it's funny because through trials and through tragedy, you kind of figure out what kind of people are around you. And we had anger towards friends of ours who might not have reached out, and we really had to understand that people handle tragedy in different ways. And I think the wisdom we gained from that really helped us understand trials that other people might go through and could talk to us with. And also people who came to us and said the way you guys handled things when you were going through it was big for us, and it really helped our family understand how to walk like a real Christian, and those things touched us, and we developed, friends that we'll have forever. People say you only have like 3, maybe 3 close, like really good friends, and we have more than 10. I can count them on both hands. So it was a pretty cool, gut-wrenching 3 years, but it definitely strengthened my faith, and I was I'm glad it happened to us.
I think definitely the jelly-filled donut has stuck with me as being like the turning point, because going through my family situation, I had a moment where I felt God spoke to me to bring my dad to church, and it was one of those moments where I just felt this ease, felt this calmness after a conversation we had in a truck coming home from baseball practice my freshman year. And it was almost like this wave came over me, and it was like, Dad, can we go to church together on Sunday? And it was something that was different for me, because I had been seeking God myself with all the trials that we were going through. And that's not the only time that I felt God has used me in moments, and God has used us in many moments, and especially out here on the ball field. I would say that another blessing that I'm very thankful for is my girlfriend, who always keeps me in check when things maybe not going right or are going well. And she's a way better Christian than I am. better than I could be, and so she always makes me better, and I'm sure all of our spouses make us better men. And I think that's another thing that I feel like we should mention, is that we're backed by pretty amazing people, and we also have our friends and teammates around us that always keep us steady.
All right, last question. Is there anything specific you might want to share with fans that you don't often get to share with them, concerning faith, concerning life, anything?
It's a tough question. I know. Really on the spot here. I don't know. That's a good question. Do you want to go? Do you want to jump in? You got something?
I think taking time, having free time to yourself to kind of look at life and what you want from life, I think that's something you should do a few times a year, is kind of reevaluate what your plan is and if you've reached that plan, and whether or not you want to instill new things in your life. For me, growing up, I wanted a non-divorced family. I didn't want divorce to even be a possibility in my life. And so when I met my wife in college, that was like one of the first things that was mentioned. And I was like, whoa, this is what I've been looking for. And not to say that there's nothing I could do that would possibly bring that about, but there's nothing that I want to do for that to happen. And so I think for people out there who want to get married, things like that, I think counseling is a huge thing to start with, because you get through all the tough questions that people tend to sweep under the rug before they happen. And I think going through those things, talking those things out before you go down the aisle is huge, and that will help with the start of a family that's going to stick together and last. When children get introduced, it's a whole new ball game, but it's great. I have 2 girls now, and raising them is one of the greatest life feats that I've been a part of, and I'm enjoying it. But like I said, the foundation that my wife and I have from going to marriage counseling has helped us get through 2 shoulder surgeries where I didn't think I was going to play baseball anymore. A daughter who has had over 40 surgeries and have almost died twice. Raising a 4-year-old daughter. Well, actually, she was 3 at the time, 3 to 6, through all those times, playing in multiple seasons when they're across the country in Boston at Boston Children's Hospital, alone, getting through the normalcy of marriage and being a good husband and being a good father, and all those things wouldn't have been possible if I didn't have a good foundation to start out on. And so I really think that's a big key, is analyzing what you want for your life and then establishing a good foundation to start it.
I think in baseball we travel a lot. We get to experience a lot of cool cities, a lot of cool places, and I feel like that's one way I've gotten closer to God is, the first time I ever went to D.C. Was obviously when I was with the big club, and the coolest part about that was my girlfriend was texting me places to go that, like coffee shops that were Christ-based, and trying to experience this. And so now every place I go, I'm looking for places that are centered around Christ, whether that be restaurants, cafes. And so I think taking the time taking the time to do that and research places before I go to them is something that I definitely recommend. Definitely take the time to find places that suit your lifestyle. And if you're a follower of Jesus and you've accepted Jesus into your heart, I think finding those spots just bring you closer, and you're able to experience that with your family, with your friends, or even just on your own. And that's something that's been cool for me to do that maybe not a lot of people know is I like to walk around by myself a lot and find these places. So it's fun.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate you guys being willing to carve out some time and just pull back and share with us and the fans, obviously, just what God's done in your life and just being transparent. Obviously, there's things we maybe wish we could change and maybe not, because God's worked it in such a way that it's kind of shaped and formed us, and it's cool to hear how He's done that in your lives and just sharing it with us. So I appreciate you guys, and yeah, thanks so much for joining us. We'll be doing this each year at Faith Night. We'll have some testimonies with some of the guys, and hopefully next year we can do it live at the park. But appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks a lot. We'll see you later.